navigating the holidays when your parents are divorced can be a hell of a time. But you also end up with like 1.5 million different traditions to play around with and take on in your life. So, like all things in life, you win some, you lose some. I had some thoughts on reviewing a couple shows or movies that I've got lined up next, but it's the end of the year and I'm tired, so I figured I'd do something a little more chill. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on this channel, but my parents are divorced. I'm not a child of divorce in the sense that I was 19 when they split for good, so I don't have any advice for dealing with the holidays in that context. I'm not even really here to discuss tension around which parent you spend what date with, because my parents actually differ on which date is the most important to them. Which is really fucking handy, honestly. The summers are the really contentious bits. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about holiday traditions. So let's take this in calendar date order, starting with the 6th of December. Yes, the 6th. It's Finland's Independence Day, so it kind of gets swept up in the winter holiday bundle, if you will. People burn blue and white candles, and the president hosts a ball in their palace which some people tune in to watch. I'll join for a bit when the guests are arriving, if anyone around me has it on, just to critique the fashion. When I was young, my dad used to make a reindeer, not stew exactly, very runny sauce. I don't know the English word for it, but there was reindeer in it. He also made mashed potatoes out of regular potatoes and blue Congo to make into a Finnish flag. That part we still do, even when I spend the day with my mom. Not actually making it into a Finnish flag, because it cools too quickly like that, according to her. But the two kinds of mashed potatoes are present. Fun fact, the blue Congo is noticeably sweeter. These days, though, I'm pescatarian, so for a few years now, the protein option has been fish of some kind. This year it was grilled salmon. Next on the docket is the 13th, Luciadogen. It's the holiday celebrating Saint Lucia. A woman gets crowned Lucia, walks down the steps of Domkyrkan in Helsinki, and there's an entire parade which I have been in because I used to be a scout once upon a time. When I was young, Lucia Day was mostly a thing that happened in school for me. A girl, usually an upperclassman with long blonde hair, would get crowned Lucia, there'd be some singing, and then either at lunch or at the after-school programs we'd get lussebullar, which are these saffron buns with raisins. I still remember being bitterly jealous, because I knew, because I'm brunette, I would never ever ever get crowned Lucia, because she's always a blonde white woman, with perfectly pin straight hair at that. Preferably with blue eyes. Like, I don't think y'all realize how borderline revolutionary it was the year a brunette white woman got voted as the official Lucia that walks down the steps of Domkyrkan. It was a whole thing. Anyway, for a while after I dropped out of gymnasiet, Lucia Day kind of stopped being a thing for me. Like, sure, my family might note that, oh hey, that's happening, but it wasn't really a thing, and I honestly missed it. Which is why these days, on the 13th, we light some candles and bake saffron buns. It's a really simple tradition, but it's nice. It's warm. In the nebulous realm of doesn't have a fixed date, but it is a thing that has to happen, there's my stepfather's gingerbread cookies. He bakes them every year, from scratch, from a legit handed-down recipe, and I swear to God, I will get that recipe for him before I move out, so help me God, because these things are the best gingerbreads I've ever had in my life. Next thing after that is the Winter Solstice, which is more of a thing specifically for me for pagan reasons and my mother for atheist reasons. It's when I would want to visit the graveyard to pay respects to my paternal grandmother, It's something I've started wanting to do because of my stepfather's tradition of visiting family gravesites on Christmas Eve, so it's actually pretty recent, which is weird to think about considering it feels so right. And before you start thinking that this is some kind of oddball habit of his, it's actually really common to visit family gravesites on Christmas over here, and I have no idea how prevalent that might be elsewhere, but I feel pretty confident that it's not a thing in the US, because it would have shown up in some piece of Christmas media, because y'all are fucking obsessed with that. When I was young, I'd say somewhere in my early teens, it started being a thing for us to have roasted chestnuts on the solstice, which is not my thing, I've gotta be honest. Not a fan of those. These days, my mom, my stepfather, my sister, and I exchange gifts on the solstice and order takeout. Usually Chinese. And after that, it's the day itself. Christmas Eve, the 24th of December. Here in Finland, it's actually on that day that the gifts are traditionally given. It happens in the evening after dinner, and if there are kids present, one of the adults will probably dress up as Santa and come in carrying a big bag of presents. And this is the reason why, for the longest time as a child, I could not understand the American children's obsession with catching Santa Claus. I just did not understand it because he showed up every year and I got to see him just fine sitting there in the chair. Until the year my cousin Patrick was the one who dressed up as him and promptly shattered the illusion of Santa being real for me right then and there. I, frankly, do not give a shit about Christmas. But I will celebrate it because parts of my family do. There'll be food like lutefisk, potatoes, peas, and various kinds of boxes. I honestly don't know what they're called in English, but I don't like any of them, so I don't care. I usually end up eating like potatoes, peas, and lutefisk, and I'm honestly fine with that. When I was a kid, a whole big chunk of the extended family would all gather at my paternal grandparents' house for Christmas dinner, but they're both dead now, and no one stepped up to take my grandmother's place in organizing that mess, so any family meetings that happen over the holidays tend to be smaller and not fall on the day itself. Because all of this happens on the 24th, Christmas Day actually tends to be a bit of a rest day. A bit of a nothing day, take a breather and sleep off the food coma kind of day. After that, the next thing is Boxing Day, which actually was a thing for me growing up. It was the day when my parents' old uni friends would all come around with their families for a big turkey dinner. I actually grew up knowing the guy who is now my stepdad as the guy who always brings that one flower that has to be exiled into the cold because mom's allergic, and rides a motorbike. He was the photographer at my parents' wedding. Yeah, it's a wild story. This one was actually a bit tense right after my parents divorced, because they both wanted to keep it. Which has nothing to do with either me or my sister, and everything to do with the classic who keeps the friend group thing. It was my mom. My mom kept the friend group. Though this year, because of circumstances, there's no meeting happening in real life. There's probably gonna be a Zoom call or we'll meet over Teams or something. Which is a little bit sad when I say it out loud, but it's the way of the world right now. After that, the next thing is New Year's, which is once again a dad thing. Well, honestly, Mom would probably not complain about having me and my sister over for New Year's, but it's more of a dad thing. When I was young, there were some years when we'd visit some family friends, who also showed up for Boxing Day, for New Year's and stay the night at their place. They lived in this real rural area and had horses and everything, and I very vividly remember being allowed to ride on the back of this very calm, speckled white mare while she was out for a walk in the snow. Which was very much needed because even back then, I couldn't have managed that whole walk on my own. And also, it was just neat. Horses are neat. And I will actually fight you on that. Another important part of this trip would be the New Year's Eve blinis, which is a thing no matter where my dad is for New Year's. He will fry blinis, and there will be a blini dinner, before the fireworks start. And with that, the winter holidays are over. Looking over this, I can clearly see which bits of these traditions resonate best with me, which ones I want to carry forwards, and which I honestly couldn't care less about. It kind of makes me wonder what traditions have received the same treatment by my own parents, and their parents, and so on up the line as far back as you can go. Why did I end up here? Why did these particular traditions, in these forms, make their way down through generations until they could find their way to me? How have they changed along the way? Questions I will never get answers to, no doubt, but ones I like to think about because they fill me with a weird sense of nostalgia for times I've never actually seen. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, consider liking it and maybe subscribing. I will be back here Thursday after next. Goodbye, happy holidays, happy new year, and all that jazz.